Okay, welcome back to the Property Pilot. Today we're talking about why I decided to sell my house. Okay, welcome back. So this is why I decided to sell my house. As I record this, it's November 2022. And the reason why I'm giving this kind of honest, very personal video is because I get messages, I'd say every other day, from my friends, from people within my network, that have a question that's to do with the personal property they own, not an investment property. So a personal property, it's their own property that they either live in or maybe it's their family's property. So it's really important that this is addressed, and I share the reasons why I decided to sell my house in November 2022. As the market is decreasing, you'd ordinarily think, well, this is the worst time to sell. You never should sell an asset as the market is decreasing. You should hold on to it. But I'm going to give you a few reasons why I decided to sell my house, and hopefully maybe you can get value from this, and it may change your way of thinking and open you up to new opportunities and new ideas. So let me just describe the current situation where we're in, and maybe this will make a bit more sense. So me and my wife, we live in a nice 3-bed house in a really nice area in Leeds, and I love the area. I really don't want to move out the area, but we're looking for a bigger house. We've got a son who's nearly 20 months old, and we want to grow our family, and we need a slightly bigger house. We're running out of space. My office now is in my 3rd bedroom, okay, and I want a nicer office, and we need a bigger house, okay. So we're running out of space. The reason why I decided to sell this house, it wasn't just me. Obviously, I had a conversation with my wife, and we both agreed to selling the house, is because we're upsizing. Now, when is the best possible time to upsize? Well, obviously during a downturn, during a slump, and here's the reason why. So I'm going to put some rough numbers out there, okay? Now, let's say our house is valued at £400,000, okay? £400,000. We live in the north. That's, what property prices are. Down south, that'll only get you a 1-bed flat, if that, okay? So let's say our property valued at £400,000. You're probably going to have to accept a slight reduction to that to sell this property in the current market. As you already know, as probably some of you may know, the current market is pretty poor. There's a lot of negative press, negative sentiment, confidence is low, interest rates are higher, although they're still not too bad, they just seem relatively high. And all this combined, we're entering into recession, means it's not a good time generally to sell property. But if you're upsizing, you can make this work to your advantage, right? So, okay, let's just assume we sell our property at a 10% discount, okay? So let's say it's worth £400,000. Let's say we sell it for £360,000, and we have to sell our property at a discount just to move on and to get someone to buy our property, okay? This could happen. It's because affordability is squeezed, affordability is tightened. People can't borrow as much as what they thought they could initially borrow. I mean, we're in the exact same boat. We can no longer afford to borrow that amount of money up here, which we could have in January, February, to what we can do now in October, November, okay? So it's really important that you understand this, and this is why people can't afford to buy at that level that they could at the start of the year. But the nice thing about this is because we're upsizing. Now let's say we're going for a house that's £800,000. Well, let's just make the maths easy and comparable. Let's say we're getting a 10% discount on our property at £800,000. Then that means we're buying this property for £720,000. Now let's look at the discount on both properties on a numeric basis. So we're selling our property at 10% discount, which is a £40,000 discount, but we're buying our property at the same 10% discount, which is an £80,000 discount, so a much larger discount than what we're selling our property for. So obviously, if you take that into account, that's, it's not necessarily a profit, but it's certainly, you're generating a huge benefit there, okay? Whereas in ordinary times, you'd have to pay more to get that higher property. So this is why I've decided, and why we've decided to sell our house, and we're going to actually utilise and make use of this slump, make use of this downturn and the recession, and by buying a property, our next higher property, a high value property, at a better possible price. Now the great thing about this is, I've just used this 10% math to make the maths comparable and to make it easy. But those of you who know me, I'm in the property game, I know all the local agents, I've got really good relationships with the local agents. So, I'm banking on actually getting a better deal than a 10% discount. I'd like to get a 20% discount. So again, let's lower over the maths. 800, 20% of 800, 160,000. So that means buying a property at roughly £640,000, which is a huge discount. Back only 6 months ago, we'd be paying so much more for the same calibre and for the same standard of property, okay? So this is why we've sold our house. We're upsizing, we're making the most of a downturn. So if you're, also in a similar position to me, price is irrelevant, but if you're upsizing, no matter where you are in the country, I'd consider actually selling your property now. It's okay to sell at a slight discount, providing you're getting the same, if not a greater discount on your onward purchase, okay? And don't be afraid to do that. Now, we've taken it one step further, and this is slightly risky. You may not want to do this, this option isn't for everyone. We have sold our house chain free. We've decided to sell our property chain free. We can either move into one of my rentals in the short terms, or maybe hopefully live with family or something like that, or maybe between those two options, we'll make something happen. Failing that, we can rent somewhere else, maybe rent something slightly closer to where we live, or in our village, okay? Now, the reason why we've done this is because, now, chain-free properties can typically command a slight, I wouldn't say premium, but let's just say less of a discount, okay? There are those buyers that you really don't want to mess around. They've dealt maybe with change in the past and they just don't want to deal with change. Maybe they've had some really bad experiences. Or maybe, in our circumstance, it's a first-time buyer, they're in rented accommodation at the moment and they want to move out because their lease comes up to an end, their contract comes up to an end in a couple of months. So they want to go somewhere chain-free because they don't want to live with their parents that much, to fill that void, to fill that gap. And by selling our property chain-free, we can actually get a slightly better price. I'd consider doing that, but again, it's not for everyone. Make sure you've got somewhere to go. And again, things may not work out. If your onward purchase, falls out, then obviously you may be a bit stuck there. Okay, so when does this strategy not work, and when do I suggest not doing this strategy? Well, in the complete opposite. So if you're downsizing, ideally you don't want to be selling now. Let's say you're going from, a 3, 4, 5 bed detached property, you're going down to a bungalow, a 3-bed bungalow, or a 2-bed flat, something like that, which is less value than your property. You try not to sell now if you can, because you're going to have to probably sell your property at the same level of discount just to downsize. So it may not work. The only option which I can think where this may work is if you're buying a new build, you're downsizing into a new build, because that developer now in November 2022 is probably going to be quite nervous if they haven't sold all their units, or they've still got units to sell off plan, and they're more likely to do a deal with you, and you can get a really good discount on that property purchase because they're scared about moving their finance, moving their debt onto slightly different terms and slightly different rates. Because if you go back, say, 2-3 years ago when that development either started or was financed, no one could forecast now that interest rates would be as high as they are. They're still relatively okay in the long term when you look at long-term rates, but they're much higher than what people thought they would be, okay? People weren't factoring in, a potential 5% base rate in 2023. They just weren't. So, you can get a really good deal from a developer. Maybe that actually means it's okay to sell your larger property that's worth more than the new property you're moving into down here. So that's one scenario where I'd consider selling your property and going into a new build by getting a really good offer agreed with a new build developer. So, this is why me and my wife decided to sell our house. I hope it's the right thing to do. Only time will tell. It depends also on our onward purchase, and I'm not going to disclose too much information until it's actually across the line and we're actually in, we've got the keys. I don't want to get myself too excited. 1 in 3 property transactions fall through, so we could be one of those 3. You never actually know. But once it completes, or once our new property completes, shall I say, whatever that is, I'll make a video about it, and we'll actually see if this gamble and this decision, I say gamble, it's not really a gamble, we've de-risked it in several different ways, but if this decision has actually been a profitable one, and one that's paid off and been an advantage to us as a family. So I'd really like to hear what are your thoughts. What do you think about this? Maybe your thought about things that I haven't covered on this video. I really love to hear about what your opinion is. Again, where do you think the market's going to go in the next year, in the next 2 years? There's a lot of money to be made in property right now, especially by buying at the right price. There's going to be some really, really good deals. So, as providing you're buying at the right price, you're securing that property at a really good price, a good discount to its value, not the asking price, but to the value of the property, then you're de-risking yourself. And maybe in those 2 years, you can refinance the property or sell the property and take cash and profit from it either way. So yeah, I hope this video, this confession and this quite personal video has added value and maybe allowed you to think of things in a slightly different way. And if you're actually doing the same things that I'm doing, upsizing, and have now decided to sell your house or put your house on the market, let me know. I'd really like to know if this has helped your decision, or maybe you were thinking about this before. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoy my channel, and I'd kindly consider that you subscribe to the channel. It really helps me pump out these more videos. It gives me a bit more positive feedback that all this is worthwhile and worth doing. If you haven't already checked my previous videos, have a look at those. We've got a really good breadth of videos all the way from investing, finance, property viewings, offers and things of that nature. So thanks very much for watching and enjoy your day.